Okay, so the new season of Game of Thrones is starting up. If you don't know, this is the most absurdly popular show on television at the moment, with its dark and gritty fantasy setting that draws in viewers. It was based on a series of epic fantasy novels by a fat white guy with a beard. The Song of Fire and Ice, as it's known, is comprised of 5, going on 7, books at over 1,000 pages each. Yeah, I'm not reading that. If you can't say it in 1,000-page long book, you probably don't need to say it. I was much more interested in a science fiction collection, Tuf Voyaging, which features a spacefarer running around the universe with a magic spaceship. I would love to get into it, but I want to give you my impression of Game of Thrones first. Okay, so everyone told me I had to watch Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones was the shit. Game of Thrones was the best show on TV. Have you watched Game of Thrones yet? You should. It's all dark and horrible. All the bad guys win. Nobody's safe. There's blood, violence, and oodles of sex. I finally capitulated last summer and was like, fine, I'll see what the hell the damned hype was about. I wasn't that impressed. I mean, it started out okay. I liked how it showed leaders who were forced into tough, no-win scenarios where they had to make tough decisions that ultimately made them look like the bad guy, even though they were doing what was best for the country at large. I saw a lot of modern politics in it, which Obama's fandom certainly didn't deter, and it helped make me think about more global issues. Then, it just got to where everyone was trying to screw everybody else for petty power plays that meant nothing, and they would fail anyway, and all the good guys get killed, and all the bad guys get killed, and no one could succeed at anything. Nihilism! Nihilism is a way of life! That's not intelligent darkness, that's simple shock value. The problem is how it started out okay, but degenerated into weirdness. And plus, I already figured out how it's gonna end. Here's all that's gonna happen. I didn't hate the show or even the ideas. I liked the lack of magic in the show, how there weren't too many dragons or wizards or whatever, and whatever there was very subtle. It was more of a medieval story, recounting the English War of the Roses, with a few other historical references thrown in. This is also giving way to more fantasy tropes. Blood and violence don't really bother me, especially when it's highly stylized and completely absurd like in this show. I hate to break it to you, this is not realistic. It may be gritty, but not realistic. I also like the copious amounts of naked women. I know that it's rude or whatever to promote stuff like this, but I'm a big fan of naked women, and it doesn't bother me to see them so often. I mean, people buy HBO for a reason, and they're more than willing to deliver. But still, all of this is just kind of gimmicky stuff. I don't think it would be enough to warrant the massive popularity the show is experiencing. So, what in the seven hells? Well, I think this show stands in stark contrast to everything else that's being put out. I mean, the movies are stale and boring, just being retreads of 20-year-old comic books and other movies. And while there are numerous original and even similarly themed TV shows, they're ultimately just bad knockoffs of this show, or at least that's what people think. I mean, the show does have its good points. It's very well acted and put together. It has a rich, detailed atmosphere that draws people in and is hypnotic. The writing's okay. I mean, it's not terrible. And it has a huge cast of characters who are engaging and worth following. And I think that's one of the strongest points, the characters. They're all well developed and intriguing, giving the viewers an entry point into the series so that people can follow it. I think the characters are the strength of any series, and these guys are so much better than what's being put out that people can't help but watch them every week, even if they might get killed. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, what did I think of Tuf Voyaging? It was moderately okay and better than the show. Bye! Oh, I guess you want something a little more deep than that. Alright, so it's about this guy, and his name is Tuff, and he does some voyaging. Okay, it's not actually a novel, rather a collection of short stories, each featuring this same character. Tuff is a quiet, lonesome individual who doesn't really interact well with other human beings. He's not an alien in the sense of he has the same genetic components that we do, but he does that completely different from everybody else. He's in possession of a massive spaceship with ecological engineering capabilities. The adventures he undergoes involve him coming to a planet with some kind of environmental problem and him fixing that problem. Usually, as per Martin's cynical style, the problems are caused by the people of the planets, and all he can really offer are short-term solutions. After he leaves, the people go back and undo all the good he's done. This leaves Tuff in a rare position of, basically, godlike power, where he has to face hard decisions on who gets to live and who gets to die, and what his responsibilities are, not only to the people of those worlds, but the worlds themselves. Is it right to condemn a population, but to save the land they live on and the creatures they eat? See, that's how you do it, not just sit around and complain because you're a fat guy who didn't get laid in high school. I mean, Seriously, George, what happened? Did you drop the soap in prison or something? Anyway, I did really like this book. It reminded me of an old-school space opera, like something from the 80s, with journeys to other worlds and exploring the meaning of what it is to be human. Wait a minute. It is from the 80s. The science is a little simplified in it, but that's because it's more metaphorical. Again, Martin's characters are what really shine through, coming alive off the page and being real subtly developed. He doesn't spend a lot of time with them, except for Tuff himself, but you know who they all are, what they want, and where their place is. They're rich and diverse and help make the world he created far more believable than other people could have pulled it off. Let's just hope he doesn't kill them all.
Still has claws, and mine are long.